and tens of thousands of families are fleeing northern Afghanistan as the Taliban expands its control of the area. The insurgents have consolidated their grip on 6 provincial capitals. They've now set their sights on the biggest city in the north, Mazar-i-Sharif. The fall of the city would signal the total collapse of government control in the region, which has traditionally been anti-Taliban. The violence has displaced 60,000 families over the past 2 months. Most are seeking refuge in Kabul. Violence in Afghanistan has been increasing since the US military began withdrawing in May. The Pentagon insists it is up to Afghans to defend their own country, but it has sent a special envoy to Qatar to try to convince the Taliban to accept a ceasefire. Simon Marks joins us live from Washington, D.C. for more on this. Simon, what impact could the US have on a potential ceasefire?
Well, it's very difficult to see, Steve. I mean, the facts on the ground in Afghanistan are changing so rapidly. Just over the weekend, 6 separate provincial capitals falling into Taliban hands, including, of course, Kunduz, a key hub in the north. Fighting still underway for Lashkargah in Helmand province and Kandahar down in the south. And now at this very late stage, this 11th hour, Zalmay Khalilzad, the US envoy, being dispatched once again to Doha, which has been the scene of fruitless negotiations with the Taliban now for some 3 years. He is charged by President Biden with trying to persuade the Taliban to engage in a diminution of hostilities and also to return to a political path of negotiation in a bid to try and put together some kind of political solution in the country. But at a point where the Taliban is so confidently and so rapidly taking so much territory in the teeth of the US military withdrawal, it's very difficult to see why the Taliban would agree to those requests. The vast majority of observers here in Washington, D.C. believe that the fall of the Afghan government is now on the cards, potentially, and indeed the Biden administration, while President Biden has denied that he was warned that the Afghan government would fall within 6 months of an American troop withdrawal. There are numerous reports here that the intelligence agencies were very clear with the White House about the medium-term consequences of this US troop withdrawal, and yet those medium-term consequences appear to have dawned in Afghanistan over the short term.
Simon, the Pentagon says Afghanistan's security is in its own hands. The US effectively turning its back and walking away then?
Well, not entirely. I mean, the United States military is still engaged, even as it withdraws, in airstrikes on Taliban positions. It's very unclear exactly what guides the judgment as to when those airstrikes should be launched, because clearly Afghan security forces are under pressure in a wide variety of different locations in Afghanistan. And the Pentagon and the White House has insisted that even after the US troop withdrawal is complete, the United States will adopt what it calls an over-the-horizon approach to Afghanistan. In other words, the US military might not have boots on the ground in the country, but it will continue to take a keen interest in developments in Afghanistan and perhaps launch further airstrikes from positions that are quite literally over the horizon in other parts of the region. I think there are big questions here about whether any fruit can be borne in conversations with the Pakistani government. So far, the Pakistani President Imran Khan has been very, very negative about the idea of any kind of close association with the American military in Afghanistan post-withdrawal. But there are huge challenges ahead if the Biden administration is going to make do on its pledge to make sure that Afghanistan, after the troop withdrawal, doesn't become a haven for possible future terrorist activity.
All right, thanks for getting us up to speed. Simon Marks in the US Capitol.